I've got a good one coming up, folks. I'm going to show you how to make this Instant Pot Mofongo Bite. Actually, 7 of them. This is just one that I'm going to eat now with a nice, tangy, homemade ketchup mayo sauce. Stay tuned and see how easy this is to make. Hello, everyone. We're going to get right to this. As I typically say, if you're seeing this recipe turned out. So if you've seen any of my other recipe videos before that are Puerto Rican influence, I was born in Puerto Rico and I love trying out new flavors or something that I haven't made or made before in different ways. This is going to be one of those recipes. I'm going to make a Puerto Rican style mofongo, but I'm going to do it in the Instant Pot using egg bite molds. And in order to make them bind, I want these to be something that you can hold in your hand. Typically, mofongo is something that is kind of like a mashed potato. If you're going to look at the North American view, a plantain is similar to a potato. I think that's the closest comparison. Typically, you would serve mofongo upside down. It would be packed in a bowl and then put on the plate, and then you would dip it in, use a little bit of chicken stock or ketchup mayo or something to just enhance the flavors of it. And you would use a pilon or a mortar and pestle to grind everything up. I'm not going to use a mortar and pestle. I'm going to do it North American style. I'm going to use a masher in a bowl. But I'll just go over the ingredients of what we're going to use in here. These two, I will say, are ones that I'm adding on my own, which is one adobo. If you can get these in the grocery store, it's a really good seasoning. And then the sofrito. I just made a fresh batch of sofrito tonight. So I've got a couple tablespoons of sofrito in here that I'm going to add to it. That's what I put in on my own. So I'll go through the recipe ingredients that ChatGPT recommended. So this is not a typical way that you would make mofongo. But what I wanted ChatGPT to do was find me a way that I could make mofongo in the Instant Pot using egg bite molds, and this is what it came up with. And it looks promising, folks. I'm also going to add on a bonus, real quick video at the end on how to make a good ketchup mayonnaise sauce that we're going to be able to use to dip this mofongo bites in. So let's go through. I'm going to measure off, and I swear I would never eat these again. I'm not going to tell you the reason why, but all I'll say, it involved a cruise ship, copious amounts of alcohol, and I'll just leave it at that. But this will be the first time since 2011 that I will be eating these. So I'm going to measure off a cup of these, and I'm going to crunch them up. So I'm going to mash them all up, and we're going to use that to add. I'm going to season with some salt and pepper. We've got 2 eggs that we're going to use just to bind everything together. That way we're going to be able to hold them. And then I've got 2 green plantains. And as I've already mentioned the adobo, these I'm just going to go over the ChatGPT ingredients. I've got 4 cloves of garlic that I've minced up. And then I've got a 1/4 cup of olive oil that I've measured off. First thing we're going to do is we're going to peel these plantains, cut them into 1-inch pieces. Then we're going to boil them for about 15-20 minutes just to get them soft. Now, this is a healthy version of mofongo. Typically, they would be fried in some oil. We're going to boil these first. You can make them boiled as well, but this boiling is the healthy way because we're not cooking this in oil. Now, we're adding oil to it, but it's olive oil. It's a healthy oil, and it's not a lot. It's only 1/4 cup. So stay tuned. I'm going to go and I'm going to get this ready, set up so that we could peel those plantains, and I'll bring you back in. Stay tuned. Okay, I'm just going to show you a little bit on how to do this because if you've never used plantains before, they can be kind of tricky to peel. So I'll just show you a little trick. First off, we're going to cut the ends off, and then you'll notice that the plantains are ribbed. So you'll see a rib along here. And what you're going to want to do is take a knife and just pierce so that you're just below the skin. You don't want to cut too much into the plantain or try to avoid it if you can. And then what you're going to want to do is work that peeling and then peel the plantain off. So just keep going like that until you get all of the peeling off of the plantain. Then I'll bring you back when we're ready to cut them up. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, so you'll notice one of these plantains peeled perfectly. Nothing else stuck. But if you find that after you've peeled, you'll see that some of the skin is still on, just make sure that you scrape that all off. You don't want any of that going into the cook. So just scrape that all off like that. Once it's scraped off, then we're going to go ahead and cut these into about 1-inch pieces. And then we're going to put them into a pot with some water, and we're going to let them come to a boil, and then have a nice soft rolling boil for about 15 to 20 minutes until you can pierce them with a fork. Sort of like when you're testing a potato to see if it's done. You don't want it too soft, but you want it soft enough that it's going to be able to mash. Stay tuned. We'll bring you back once these are cooked. Okay, folks, here we are. These are fork tender, and now we're ready to start mashing these up. So I'm going to add in the sofrito and the garlic. Remember, the sofrito is an additional ingredient that I added, and this adobo is additional. I'm just going to put about a teaspoon of adobo in there. And we're going to put the olive oil in. Think about it, if it was mashed potatoes, you'd usually be putting about a 1/4 cup of butter in. This is olive oil. It's healthier. You might be thinking that's a lot of oil to be putting in there, but it's not really when you think of it. Now, I'm going to use the potato masher, but I might need to get the top part of the pilon out and use that because it might be easier, but we'll see how this goes. These, you'll notice that even though they're fork tender, plantains are tougher than potatoes are. So you're really going to have to work this in. So rather than see me sit here and do this for 5 or 10 minutes and waste your time, you can get the concept here. I'm just going to mash these up until the plantain, it doesn't have to be like super mashed. It can be like a chunky mashed potato. I'll show you the consistency once I finish. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, we're back. And you can see what I mean. They're kind of like a chunky mashed potato. You're never going to be able to get these plantains to mash up like potatoes. You'd have to put a ton of oil in there. And we don't want to do that. That's why we're using the egg. So I'm going to add the egg, and I think it's only fitting that I use my celebrity cruise ship cup, because that's the last time I had these things that we call pork rinds here in Puerto Rico. We call them chicharrones. So I've ground up the chicharrones, and I'm going to put the egg in there, and I'm going to put the chicharrones in, and I'm going to mix all of those ingredients in together. We want to make sure that everything's evenly mixed in. The smell that's coming out of this is just incredible. The sofrito, and I do have a recipe for sofrito. I'll put a link in the description below. Please forgive it. It was one of my first videos that I've done, and I've learned a lot since then. But it's a pretty basic recipe. I'll also put the ingredients below. You don't necessarily have to watch the recipe. It's pretty straightforward. Just put all the ingredients in the food processor and mix them up. Now we've got this pretty much evenly mixed. We're ready to spoon these into egg bite molds. That looks good. Oh, and it smells amazing. With some ketchup mayo, which I'm going to show you how to make. It's very simple. We'll whip that up while it's cooking. Stay tuned. I'll get the egg bite molds out. So here we go, folks. What I've done is I've taken a piece of paper towel and I dipped some olive oil in it, and I just rubbed all inside the egg bite molds just so that we get a coating of oil so that this stuff doesn't stick to it. And what we're going to do is we're just going to spoon it in. I'll fill one up. And these aren't going to rise that much. I know it's got some eggs in, and you want to pack them down. You want to make sure there's no gaps or any space in it. Make sure that you get that all filled up. with all of that goodness. So I'm going to go and do that for the rest of them. You can see how much is in there. Then I'll bring you back as we're ready to put them in the pot. So here they are, folks. I'm excited about tasting these. I have made mofongo before using the frying pan with a bunch of oil. I've used it in the air fryer. I'm looking forward to these. I've never had mofongo as a tasty bite. Now, I've got these all filled up. There's enough probably for another 1 or 2 egg bites left in the bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip this trivet thing over. If you have one of these are great because you can just lift them in and out of you don't have to fiddle around. These are great for not only the egg bite molds, but for anything you're cooking. So I'm going to lower these into the Instant Pot. I've got a cup of water in there, and I'll bring you back as we set that timer. Okay, folks, we've got the cup of water in there. The lid is on. It's on sealing position. We're going to cook it on high pressure for 9 minutes. Then we're going to press that start button. While that's cooking, I'm going to get the ingredients all measured up to make the ketchup mayo. Stay tuned. This is only going to take a second, folks. I'll show you how to whip that up. Okay, folks, ketchup mayo. This is how easy it is. The Instant Pot's come to pressure. It's cooking now. I have a half a cup of mayonnaise measured in there. I have a 1/4 cup of ketchup. I have 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and I have a half a teaspoon of garlic salt. Now, if you want to use fresh garlic, you can substitute the garlic salt for 2 garlic cloves that are minced. I don't really like raw garlic, so I prefer to use a garlic powder or garlic salt. And by using the garlic salt, I don't have to worry about putting any salt in this. Now, what I'm going to do is just mix this up, and that's all there is to it. Stir it all up till everything's combined. And then you have, I've never seen ketchup mayo in the stores here. I know whenever I go to Florida, I see that they have Goya ketchup mayo, and I typically pick some up there. It's really good. We had it here once. Wasn't by Goya. I think Heinz had one out, but then it was gone as quickly as it arrived. Because I think people up here in the north aren't really familiar with the flavor of it. So, but I'm telling you, this is good. It's got a little bit of tang to it. I'm going to put this spoon in the sink, but before I do so, let me sample. Oh yeah, that's good. Perfect. Next up, folks, is when these are done, I'll give you an overhead view of what they look like. Stay tuned. That's the plantains, or the mofongo to be specific. Be right back. And there you have it, folks. The 10 minutes is up. Oh my goodness. Look, these are solid. I know I'm going to be able to pick them up. I just took them out of the Instant Pot. So again, the cook time was 9 minutes and then a 5-minute natural release. I didn't mention the tin foil. There's no need to put the tin foil on these. It's okay if a little bit of moisture gets into these. And as you can see, there was just a little bit of water splashed up, but no big deal. It's not going to hurt it. So I'm going to let those cool. I'm going to pop them out. You've already seen the clip at the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and taste it and find out if it's good. Well, we already know it's good because you're watching this video. Boy, it's kind of like a paradox. For me, I don't know yet. But you already know because you've seen the video, at least up to this point. Anyway, I digress. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, I'm looking forward to this. It's a taste of home for me. I was born in Puerto Rico. I lived there till I was 11 years old. I've been making Puerto Rican dishes for a while. This is the first time I've ever had mofongo that I can hold in my hands. And I can do that because, as you saw, we put an egg in it. But this is a Puerto Rican delicacy. It's served as a side on a dish. And again, as we talked about, it's delicious. I don't know how this is going to taste, so let's find out. Here we go, folks. We're going to go in. You've already seen it at the beginning, but here we go again. Close-up view. I've got some ketchup mayo that we made, or I made, but we all made it together. Let's taste. Madre mia. Muy bien. This is delicious. It's mofongo. This is incredible. Really, really good. The mofongo, you can taste the chicharron or the pork rind in it, the garlic. I think it was a good idea to put the sofrito in. Even if you don't have adobo, if you could make the sofrito and put it in ice cube trays, just bring it out. It's a great complement to any of your dishes that you make. It's a base in most Puerto Rican recipes. It's great in rice. It's just flavor bombs. I'll put the ingredients right over here so that you can see them. And all you do is put them all in a food processor or a blender, put them in ice cube trays, freeze them, take an ice cube out whenever you need it, or a sofrito cube, and use it in any of your recipes. This is delicious. I'm going to my daughter's tomorrow, and I'm making Puerto Rican street food. And right now I've made a fresh batch of sofrito, and I thought since I'm going to be making sofrito anyway, why not make a Puerto Rican dish? So that's why I searched ChatGPT. Is it possible to make a mofongo bite in the Instant Pot using my egg bite molds? And that's the recipe that it came up with. Again, I added the sofrito and the adobo, but you can try this without those. I would highly encourage you to at least include the sofrito. I can taste the cilantro, the garlic. I know we put garlic in the recipe, but there's more garlic in the sofrito. This tastes delicious, and the tanginess of the ketchup mayo just takes it to the next level. I really encourage you to try it. It's very easy to make, and it's healthy. We used water. We used olive oil. We didn't use butter. And we used a comparable amount of olive oil to what we would have used if we were using butter. And the flavor that comes out of it is just out of this world. Other ways that you can serve this, if you are making food and you want to have this as a side, you don't have to have it handheld. You can cook these up ahead of time in the Instant Pot, microwave them for a bit to warm them up, and put it on your plate. Put some ketchup mayo, put some chicken broth, some gravy, whatever kind of sauce you want to put on it that you think would taste good on it. You can just chop that up. You can eat it with your hand, dip it in it. So many things that you can do with this. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Sorry I talked too long, but I'm just really excited about how good this tastes. If you like this video, I'd encourage you to please hit that like button. And I'd encourage you to check out my playlist. It should be coming up about now. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I post every day. I try to do a combination of recipes and food reviews. Thanks again for watching. Jamie, signing off. Amazing.